The feature I'm going to add to Mario this time is a kick. So I'll show you what it looks like. You can see where we'll be headed. When I hit the spacebar now, he's going to do a kick. But what's different this time is that I don't want it to actually happen until I release the spacebar. So if you look at my code, you'll see that it only triggers once the spacebar comes up. And I'm also able to interrupt the animation midway to restart it. So for example, here are several spacebar kicks. And you can see that he hasn't tipped his hat, and that's what marks the end of this animation sequence. So as soon as I stop that, he'll do that final one and return to idle. So anyway, let's go take a look at the code, and we'll talk about how this is implemented now. So the first thing I did was I just uploaded my new animation images to my images folder. And now we can actually get into the code here that's going to do the rest of this for us. So the first thing is that I definitely need to keep track of what Mario's up to with the spacebar. So I definitely need to keep that information. So I'm going to make a Boolean to keep track of true, false, what's the state of the spacebar. I'm calling it kick engaged because the way I'm going to code it is that when the spacebar is pushed down, that's somebody saying, I'd like to engage Mario in a kick. And then the next thing that they do when they release it, that'll tell me that they've previously engaged it and now it's time to start the kick animation. So apologize if that's not the clearest from my English explanation, but maybe the code here will help. So when Mario's created, we can't have engaged a kick yet, so we can start it at false. The management of the key can happen down here. So this was where we were managing the which animation to trigger, like whether it should go left, should go right. So here what I'm going to do is say if Greenfoot's key down, then that's going to be a message for Mario to say that yes, the user has just engaged your kick. So Mario now knows that they've previously pushed the button. And what we'll actually end up checking for is to see if it's been released. So that's what I'll do up here is, sorry, too high, is now we'll write in the code to trigger it. So what this code says is if the spacebar has engaged the kick previously and we currently see that the spacebar is not down, that means it's been released. So the first thing I'll do is I'll say that we're about to do a kick, so we've just disengaged. We've just released the kick, so now we know we have to wait for a new signal to engage the kick, a new time the spacebar is pushed down. And of course, knowing that this must be true, that the spacebar was pushed, that means I can conclude that this is false. You haven't pushed it down. The animation is going to now become the kick, and the frame is now going to be set back to 0. So let's just take a look at this incomplete code for now, and we'll talk about what's actually going to happen. So at this time, I basically have the trigger that I'm looking for. So hopefully I can demo that for you here. So if I run this, he does his kick, and I can interrupt the kick cycle. But the problem is you can see is he just keeps kicking and kicking and kicking. He doesn't return to the idle state. So let's go and grab the code again, and we'll make that one more change here. So what I'm going to check into here is I want another thing when I'm managing the animations. I want another in my chain that says otherwise if the animation is the kick, and I want to know that the frame is finished, so the animation's complete. And I'm actually going to make a little method for this, so I'll just go down here and I'll come back to that part in my code. It may not be the most useful method ever, but it's a good habit to always break up your code, so I'll do that. And whether or not the animation is finished, I can capture it by saying return the result of the frame being greater than or equal to the animation length minus 1. So when you get to the end of the frame, that's the last frame at animation length -1, but just to be safe, I'll use a greater than or equals as well. Okay, so let's go back up and we'll update our condition here, and I'm going to use my method name, animation complete. And then basically what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go take this code to set the animation to idle. Now I could just copy paste this in, and remember we've talked about how copy paste is a bad design. At least it should trigger in your mind that there's something better to do here, and of course that's to make a method for it. So I'm going to wrap this up in a method too, since I use that code. That's a task I can repeat this way. Public void, I'm going to call it play idle. And of course, the only difference now is that if there's ever a change in the way I set the frame to be idle, then I only have one location in my code to have a look. So if I just go and recompile this, oh, forgot a bracket, and we'll take a look. Now when Mario does his kick, he'll return to the idle state. So I can still do everything before, but now he's back to idle.